So, a huge big welcome to the Perimenopause Resilience Blueprint. It's really a masterclass in really understanding how to restore your energy, power, and emotional balance without getting even more overwhelmed. Often, as women, we can often put so much on our plate and feel completely overwhelmed. And today, I'm going to share with you a step-by-step strategy and how that can help you move forward. So, who this is for, it's really for busy, dedicated women that care about being the best version of themselves and are currently navigating perimenopause or may feel completely exhausted and tired. They have a tendency to obviously be overly responsible for everyone and everything and have often noticed those people-pleasing tendencies as well. They know that this stress and exhaustion is absolutely impacting every area of their life and especially their overall joy and happiness. They also know that feeling great and having emotional and physical resilience and energy is absolutely their superpower. In the next 45 minutes, we are going to be debunking some myths. We're going to get a deeper understanding of why energy often collapses in perimenopause and why women often go through or navigate burnout or feel that they're having a lot of hormonal issues around that perimenopause cycle. The three blocks that are stealing your resilience and emotional stability and happiness, and a step-by-step proven strategy on how to actually get back to thriving again. I'll be sharing with you my very own unique Thrive method to be able to restore your energy and resilience again. And of course, how to get your free resilience mapping session as well. In the next 45 minutes, we're going to talk about how you can get back to really living a full life as a mum, a parent, a partner, and being successful in your career without the volatile mood swings, stress, and anxiety that often occurs in perimenopause, not to mention the underlying anger and rage that can sometimes come to the surface as well. Obviously, working less hours and getting more done in a way where you can feel really accomplished and fulfilled each day without the exhaustion and without the stress. Leading and being a great role model for those around you is so important, obviously including your children, and doing that in a way that's effective and congruent and living in integrity with yourself and with your values all adds to our overall happiness and well-being. Getting back that clear-minded thinking, hello brain fog, for anybody that's experiencing that, and really being able to communicate effectively. Obviously, when our resilience goes down, our communication skills can often go out the window. Really being able to understand how to experience that deep quality restorative sleep and wake up with energy, bouncing out of bed and with passion and excitement for life again. Many of you may feel like you're dragging yourself to the finish line at the end of this year. Increasing your confidence and self-belief and being able to create greater resilience and capacity in your nervous system, and how to spend more time with the people that you love and care about, having fun and laughing again. And so my overall promise to you in this masterclass today is giving you a step-by-step strategy, really understanding the pieces of what you need to be able to restore your resilience, your energy, your power, and emotional balance in perimenopause, and really understanding those three big blocks that often steal our resilience in perimenopause as well. So who am I? I'm a kinesiologist, an intuitive life coach, and somebody that's worked with thousands and thousands of women over the last 15 years to help them restore their health, happiness, and well-being to thrive again. I'm a mother, a nanny, a daughter, a friend, and a partner who absolutely loves getting out in nature, adventure, camping, hiking, and definitely paddleboarding as well. I'm also an author. I wrote my Thrive, Overcoming Burnout and Reclaiming Your Passion and Energy for Life and a Joyful Life book over the last couple of years. I've navigated and really overcome some very difficult life experiences myself, including divorce, being a single parent for 12 years, navigating burnout myself, and also losing my mum to cancer. And of course, I'm age 48, so currently navigating perimenopause myself. I've also ran international retreats as well as retreats in Australia over the years, and work online internationally to support my clients as well. And I've invested well over 350,000 in courses, multiple modalities, education and mentoring to really truly understand the mind and the body connection from both a scientific viewpoint and a metaphysical perspective as well. To give me a really, I really think it's so important to have the logical, the strategical, as well as the intuitive and the energetics, and bringing those together in a hybrid blend is one of the most powerful ways that we can really improve our health, our well-being, and really understand how our body works. Couple of house rules, remembering this, what I'm giving you is not a quick fix bullet. It's going to take some time, energy, dedication, and commitment to really obtain and sustain these results. It's not a quick fix, take a pill, be feeling great again within a day or two. Neither my results or my clients' results are typical, and my clients have been committed to the process and they've taken radical responsibility, and that's key for their energy and well-being, and also change things for the better, and sometimes even with an autoimmune or medical diagnosis. Really remembering that the women that you're going to be hearing about today as well, I'm going to share a couple of case studies as well, are busy, successful women navigating perimenopause that value being the best version of themselves that they can possibly be, and also knowing that creating that emotional and physical resilience and energy is an absolute priority in order for them to show up as the best version of themselves. They know that their health is absolutely paramount to being able to make confident decisions, have that clear-minded thinking, and have the energy to really put behind their goals and create their dream life. So your health and results, or lack thereof, are really up to ourselves to take full responsibility for. So before we jump into the three biggest blocks, I just want to check in and see, is this what you're currently experiencing? Are you currently waking up with brain fog and feeling exhausted and dreading the day? Have you lost that confidence in yourself and your decisions and feeling scattered and think that maybe you just need to be more organized or more motivated? You wouldn't believe the number of women that come to me and tell me that. Are you living in overwhelm and feeling that there's just not enough time, constantly putting more and more to do on your to-do list? Have you personally found yourself socially withdrawing and feeling teary and more emotionally reactive and sensitive? Often we lose our patience with our kids, or just feel overwhelmed at things that we used to feel that we could easily handle. In terms of the next pieces, sorry, something going on with my slideshow there for a sec. Do you procrastinate? Are you finding yourself in the Facebook scroll hole and feeling that you haven't got enough energy? Have you lost your spark and joy for life and feel numb? Often we can feel like we're walking in concrete boots through a boggy marsh, feeling so numb, so weighed down, so heavy, so lethargic. Do you have restless, interrupted sleep patterns and feel tired but wired? You're laying there with the racing mind of a nighttime, or are you finding yourself reaching for sugar or high carb or high fat foods, particularly of a night time as well? This can definitely be a key indicator that the body's looking for. Sometimes it can be emotional eating for sure, but sometimes the body is just looking for that next quick hit of energy because we're feeling so depleted and drained. So that can be really challenging. But worst of all, do you feel like there's no way that you can really keep going the same way that you are? Often so many of the women that I speak with feel this way, just knowing that something absolutely needs to shift and change for them. So if you're feeling that way, you're not alone. Nervous system capacity is often super compromised by the time that we reach perimenopause. And before we jump into some of the reasons why that's true or why we're experiencing that, I just want to explain a little bit about the nervous system as well. As you can see, I've got a cup in the background with some water in it every single time. So our cup is like nervous system capacity. Every single time we have a trauma, we have an experience where life is feeling hard, but we haven't got time to process it, or we haven't got, we've just got to move on to the next thing, or perhaps we've learnt that through our childhood that it's not safe to express our emotions, or it's not safe to really feel how we're feeling. All of those things stack in our nervous system. And what ends up happening is that every single time that that happens, it's like putting more water into a cup. And eventually that cup gets fuller and fuller and then we lose capacity. When we lose capacity, that's like the cup overflowing, except not in a good way. It means that we've lost capacity. There is no more space for us to be able to deal with those things. So everything that's happening then becomes it just more and more overwhelmed for the nervous system. The other thing that can happen is often perimenopause. Our sleep can be affected, particularly, if we're not taking great care of our physical health, it means our cup's actually getting smaller. So you may find that, again, that can cause lack of capacity as well, because we may be dealing with the same things, but now our cup's actually smaller. So now we've actually reached nervous system capacity from that perspective as well. So it's a really great analogy for understanding our capacity and how the nervous system can be affected by things happening in our life. Now, it's really important to understand also with perimenopause, often we think it's because of perimenopause, but it's actually often because we've been living a life of stress. When that happens, we have what's called a pregnenolone steal from continually pushing through. This means that our body has a choice whether we're going to survive or whether we're going to reproduce. It will always pick survival over reproduction, which means what actually happens is that the body has pregnenolone as a precursor, which can either go into cortisol or either into our sex steroid hormones, and such as our estrogen, progesterone, all of those things, testosterone. And what actually happens is the body, if we're constantly living in a state of stress, the body will keep pumping those hormones or keep pushing out cortisol and adrenaline and prioritizing that, because we need that for survival over reproduction and reproductive hormones. So that can often lower our energy overall and definitely impact us. And certainly that was my experience going through burnout. Disconnection from self and needs after years of giving and often over-giving, people-pleasing tendencies, all of those things can come into place. Disruption of sleep and hormones and digestion can impact our nervous system capacity. Or just our emotional resilience as well. Taking care of aged parents, that often happens around this particular life stage as well of perimenopause, often still taking care of children at home. So feeling stretched in multiple ways and in multiple levels. And obviously, depletion of energy, motivation, and capacity with resentment setting in. Now, resentment becomes another drain that we're now experiencing, because often we don't want to feel resentful, we don't want to feel angry, but often that is our body's way of letting us know we've hit our capacity, we're at our limit, and often we will try and continue to push past those, but now that anger and resentment is no longer giving us joy or helping us feel great when we do give to others. Now it's actually producing anger and resentment, which now becomes a further drain. We're trying to be everything to everyone, and it's often too much too fast, meaning there's often, several life events or several life circumstances that come in that are acute things that overwhelm our nervous system very quickly, or too little for too long. And this can absolutely be too little care, too little sleep or rest, too little, taking care of ourselves or observing our own needs and paying attention to our own needs as well. So that can be a more chronic state of continually being depleted, having too little to sustain us for too long of a time as well. So really important to understand what's actually going on there. These things often lead to losing confidence and belief in your ability to be able to handle things like you used to. And often women are just like, oh, it's just perimenopause. They're just putting it down to that, not actually understanding there's something deeper at play here. Often feeling constantly overwhelmed by life and emotionally reactive and sensitive, often affecting relationships, either with children, parents, or loved ones, or your intimate partner. Often feeling lethargic, empty, numb, and brain fog, but having even more dysregulation and frustration with ourself. And obviously the body oscillating between go, 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 got to get things done, and putting ourselves into flight mode, and then dropping into freeze or feeling so overwhelmed or going into collapse simply because the body does not have the resources that it needs to continue pushing through. It can often evoke fears of aging and not knowing, I don't know what's wrong with me. And again, we can simplify it and say it's just perimenopause, but there's a lot more going on than just that. Feeling overwhelmed, obviously, at the thought of trying to make changes then, when we're already overwhelmed, when we're already exhausted, we can often feel so overwhelmed and think, oh my gosh, I've got to do all these things in order to make progress or in order to be healthy or in order to get my energy back. And then we feel really overwhelmed, don't stick to any of it, and then end up feeling frustrated and stuck in the same cycles again. So this is our window of tolerance with the nervous system. So when we're experiencing fluctuations in our energy, and also just understanding the nervous system at a deeper level, we're often going up into hyperarousal, and that's when you'll put the accelerator on. If you have a lot of anxiety, or have this massive to-do list and you're constantly putting pressure on yourself, you're somebody that needs a lot of control in their life. I've got to do this and I've got to do that so I feel in control again. You'll often be living in the flight. I have a lot of people, a lot of women that I've worked with over the years that lived a lifetime or have lived a lifetime in their flight response. What actually happens, as we spoke about with that pregnenolone still, or the cortisol and adrenaline being prioritized, is that eventually the system becomes overwhelmed. We don't have the hormones to sustain our energy, which means that we're now dropping into hypoarousal, meaning we go into shutdown, we feel numb, depressed, passive, withdrawn, freezing, and often shame is one of the biggest emotional states. And this is where the inner critic can get super loud when we're actually in this state as well, as opposed to the window of tolerance where we feel calm, alive. So we feel calm in our system, but we feel alive. We've got the energy to be curious, to be compassionate, to be present, to feel grounded, and most importantly, to feel safe in our nervous system. And obviously, it's important that we have these stress responses as well. They help us in life for sure. But it's when we get stuck in these stress responses, that's when it becomes maladaptive. And often recovery, or not enough recovery, is actually the key piece to why we end up in collapse longer term as well. So really understanding, yes, we all have that window of tolerance. It's totally okay to move in and out of that, but it's when we get stuck out of that window of tolerance, or we have very little capacity left, we're very prone to be reactive, triggered very quickly, going into hyperarousal, and then perhaps going into shutdown. Or if you're really depleted and have been stressed for a very long time, you'll find that you may be living in or experiencing more and more and more of the overwhelm and more of the collapse and the shutdown state, the hypoarousal from that place. So really important to understand those key pieces. So we often think, as I said, we put it down to perimenopause, or, oh, it's just my hormones, but it's actually not a hormone problem. Even though that may be contributing it, it's more of a symptom of what's going on at the deeper level. It's a capacity problem, and it's one that's actually started a really long time ago. And it's just now that your body will no longer tolerate what you've been doing. It's a sign and a clear shake-up of our system, our way of being, that is letting us know we have not been living in a sustainable way. So our body's screaming louder than ever before, and you cannot afford to ignore it anymore. The reason I say that is that there is a reason that autoimmune disease collectively affects about 5 to 8% of the total population, and you would be blown away by understanding that approximately 75 to 80% of those affected by autoimmune diseases are women. And one of the reasons for that is because of the emotional dysregulation, the abandoning our needs. As Gabor Mate says in the book, When the Body Says No, the cost of hidden stress. It links autoimmune diseases and other chronic emotional and obviously medical states where our body is not doing well. It links those autoimmune diseases to chronic emotional stress. and unaddressed trauma from unresolved emotional issues, which are unacknowledged needs, or unsustainable life patterns when the person's mind cannot or will not acknowledge them. So I always believe that our body is like a messenger for our soul. And so it will continue sending these larger and larger messages to us to finally get our attention. And often, as you may have heard, it's not until somebody gets a significant diagnosis or medical diagnosis where you see them completely change their life. They start setting healthy boundaries. They do the inner work. We do not want to get to that particular point. Because obviously it's a lot harder to shift and change things from that. So when we can get the message, there's always the analogy, the feather, the brick, the truck. We want to get it at the feather. When we pay attention, when we're self-aware to how we're feeling, all of these things, we can start addressing these things without having to get the brick or the Mack truck to get the deeper message. So we can start to create greater resilience and heal our nervous system capacity by addressing those very things. But the biggest mistake that most women make is that those old habits and cycles just keep playing out, and they just keep pushing through, and believe that they don't have time to address it. I'm too busy. I'll look at that when the kids have left home. I'll look at that, later on when I've got more time. All of those things, they try and do it all themselves and end up even more overwhelmed and dysregulated. So it can be a really big one that women keep putting off because they're so used to denying their own needs and what is going to help keep them healthy and sustainable. So obviously when we address these things with greater capacity in your nervous system, you're going to be able to wake up each morning with a crystal clear mind and feel excited to get into your day with complete confidence. You trust yourself again, feel in alignment and inspired to take action on your life or in your life on the things that obviously matter most, and find that you have actually more time to spend on the things that you love. You feel resilient, strong, grounded, and clear, and feel that you can navigate the ups and downs of life with greater confidence. And you're demonstrating and role modeling emotional intelligence to your kids and transforming generational trauma. I honestly believe this is one of the greatest gifts that we can give to our children. Best of all, you're really feeling proud of the woman that you're now showing up as. Procrastination, doubt, fear, and anxiety really are a thing of the past. So obviously with all of those things, you've now got a clear path forward. You've got clear direction. When we have greater capacity on board, and we're going to get to the 3 blocks in just a moment. But when you have that greater capacity, you've got that clear direction. You've got a clear mind. You know the steps to take that lead you to greater joy and well-being. You do more of the things that you love, spending time with your loved ones, being out in nature, being creative, and you notice that you're even more productive and with clear focus as well. Your ability to be able to communicate with yourself, with your loved ones, and often, with work colleagues, really improves radically, and you're able to set healthy boundaries, and that's obviously radically increased, leading to greater happiness in relationships. But best of all, you love who you are again, and you treat yourself with the love, the care, and the respect that you absolutely deserve. So now let's jump to the 3 blocks that are potentially stealing your resilience. So number 1, so many women that I speak with are carrying the emotional responsibility and load for others. And often there can be a deeper belief underneath that, feeling like we can't let others down or we can't disappoint them. We're going to go into these in more detail. Number 2, it's constantly striving and pushing even when you're exhausted. I know I always used to rally my energy when I was a single mum, just got to get through this, just got to get through this. We can often end up feeling or being hyper independent, not allowing ourselves to get help and be supported. So, I've got it, I'll take care of it, I'll do it. Overloading the nervous system, obviously physically, mentally, and emotionally. And this can be with toxins, this can be with unprocessed traumas, all of those things, but we'll get into the deeper details in just a sec. So obviously emotional overload. So this is carrying the emotional responsibility for others can absolutely drain our system in huge ways and cause us to abandon ourselves and our own needs. This often comes from being the emotional caretaker as a child, believing that you can't let others down or disappoint them. You were needed for what you could give to others, and often it is a way that our nervous system knows that we're safe or won't be abandoned if we keep showing up and keep doing what it is. we often have a huge heart and care deeply. And when we're empathetic and sensitive to others' emotional things, that is where that emotional responsibility can, or we can be at greater risk around taking on too much emotional responsibility when we feel things deeply. Often we have difficulty with boundaries and saying no to others, and often have taken on the fixer rescue identity in the family, resulting in over responsibility for others, but often under responsibility for yourself, your health, and your needs. Because when we're continually self-abandoning, and not taking care of our own needs, because we're so invested in the well-being of everybody else around us. So there's three reasons why it is so difficult to let go of emotional overload by being overly responsible for others. Number one, most women never want to be seen as selfish. We have a lot of indoctrination around that in society, that it's really bad to be selfish, or to put our needs first. But most women never want to be seen as selfish, and so they take care of everyone else first. And it's remembering that your needs are just as important as everyone else's. Being overly responsible also gives the illusion of maintaining control. It's a really big one for so many women. When we've lived in the flight state, often we don't feel safe overall in our nervous system. And so we try and regain control through external means. And being overly responsible often gives us a feeling that we're in control. As women, our highest need is to feel safe. We attempt to meet this need for safety by using control. So taking responsibility for everyone and everything in our life, but exhausting ourselves in the process. And number three, one of the reasons why it's hard to let go of that emotional responsibility or over responsibility is it can be a way of maintaining a sense of power or value. So if we make ourselves indispensable and we're always the go-to person, it's a way that unconsciously we may be attempting to feel valued and needed to prevent us from being rejected or abandoned. And yet, when we do this, we're continually self-abandoning and ignoring our own needs. So one of my a beautiful case study that I did was with Rose, and when she initially contacted me, she was totally exhausted. She was feeling so frustrated, angry, and resentful at everyone else for the pressure and the expectation of what she thought that they needed and wanted her to do. She was absolutely taking over responsibility for others. She was working absolutely crazy hours at her work, bending over backwards to make sure that every single thing was taken care of. She felt absolutely constant pressure from those around her, and she believed that she was always needed to be there for them. She felt she could never say no, and it was just a given that she would be the one that would be there to help others. She was experiencing a huge degree of pain in her lower back, and she felt so low in herself and completely depleted and exhausted. So Rose was so excited to finally learn how to free herself from the emotional load by changing deeply held beliefs through a particular process. She also learned how to communicate more effectively about her own needs and set healthy boundaries with her loved ones. And she saw that by role modeling self-care and self-love, that it was also empowering them. She no longer was experiencing resentment, but also her back pain definitely had improved dramatically. And a few months later, she realized she was no longer experiencing the sharp pain in her right side at nighttime. Her energy, happiness, and capacity has radically improved, and she's followed through on making some huge changes financially and having the energy now to finish projects that she procrastinated on for 2 or more years. So really life-changing for Rose. So number two, another big block, obviously, that steals our resilience is that constantly striving and pushing ourselves. So constantly striving and pushing even when you're exhausted. So trying to get quick energy from carbs and sugar, resulting in endless cycles of inflammation and often resulting in unwanted weight gain and energy crashes as well, because we're really not listening to our body. It's also when we're not delegating or allowing ourselves to be supported by others, which often can come from a root cause of feeling this lack of trust and loss of control when we ask others to support us. Either fear that people are going to judge us for asking for help, feeling that we don't want to be a burden, but also fear that nobody's actually going to be there, or we can't rely on others because they've always seen us as the giver. And so often that can lead to, well, I need to be the strong one, or everybody sees me as a strong one. So we're not allowing ourselves to be supported as well. Not listening to the physical body. So the body has the brake and accelerator on. This creates chronic inflammation on a physical level within the body. So we're constantly pushing. I often say to my clients over the years, if you feel like you have to, you need to, you should, you must, it's like those days where perhaps you're noticing you're feeling fatigued, you're feeling exhausted, and your body's like, no, I don't want to go to the gym, but you're like, no, I have to go to the gym. Just using this as one example. It's often when we use that language with ourselves, no, I just have to, I've got to push through, I've got to do those things. And I can understand and appreciate sometimes we do have responsibilities and we do have commitments that we need to show up for. However, when we constantly do this to ourselves and we're not giving ourselves the space, the time to rest and recover adequately, it's literally like pushing somebody standing behind you, pushing you in the back. It is going to create greater resistance within you. And that's where the accelerator and the brake, somebody's pushing you in the back, that's the accelerator, or you're pushing yourself in the back most often. We're putting the brake on because the moment that somebody pushes us in the back, our natural state is to push back or to resist that. So obviously that can be the brake and the accelerator on at the same time. So that's often when we've got that flight response going on in the nervous system, and you're also going into collapse or withdrawal, or into that freeze nervous system state, but then, trying to rev yourself up with caffeine and all of those things to try and get a bit more energy to get things done. We can often have a fear of being lazy or not doing enough or not performing enough or fear of letting others down. That feeling like we're not enough often has us trying to prove our worth and prove our value. So when we're constantly striving and pushing, in essence, we're not listening to our body and our current capacity. We're violating our own boundaries. And we're not listening to our own limits because of deeply held beliefs and fears. And I totally understand and get this. Like, obviously, after 12 years of being a single mum, like sometimes we can have a lot of fears around producing enough income for our families and all of those different things as well. And that has us, continually pushing and striving to. The more physically compromised we become, the more our fear-based ego survival mind overtakes things. So it becomes very, very loud. This is when the inner critic gets very, very loud, often shaming us, telling us that we're not enough, all of those things. And that creates greater drains on our energy and nervous system. And a downward spiral is inevitable until we stop and actually listen. As I mentioned before, your body is the messenger for your soul. It's constantly giving you feedback of what needs to shift or change emotionally, mentally, or physically within your life in order to be happy, abundant, and sustainable in your world. If you're feeling anger and resentment, it is a clear sign that we're violating our own boundaries or we're not setting healthy boundaries with others as well. So the messages from your body will just get louder and louder until you pay attention and listen. So before Kerry worked with me, she was experiencing severe symptoms from fibromyalgia, complex PTSD, burnout, and stress. She often had to take many days off work at a time, generally 4 days or so at a time when she had a flare-up, and she felt extremely fatigued and exhausted majority of the time. She was on a high level of medication. She found it difficult to exercise as it often triggered major flare-ups and obviously even more severe pain with the fibromyalgia as well. She was tired and exhausted, and honestly, when she came to me, she said, I've tried everything and absolutely nothing has worked for me. She hadn't quite tried everything. However, we can often feel that way and we can feel super frustrated. So obviously this was impacting her everyday happiness, particularly her ability to enjoy life and have energy for her loved ones. Not only that, obviously affecting her work and her finances as well. So after working with me, Kerry's fibromyalgia symptoms had reduced by up to 80%. She'd also lost 12 kilos in the first 8 weeks, and she was no longer taking any of her medication. That was through conversations with the doctor. I would never advise somebody to take or not take certain medications. That is outside of my scope of practice. But she was able to literally get off all of her medication, and she couldn't believe how energetic, healthy, and vibrant that she felt. She absolutely understands how to listen to her body now, what her body's telling her, and knows that unresolved emotions and past traumas were impacting her body as well. She also now knows how to clear these emotions, traumas, and beliefs and support her body back to continued improvement with her health, energy, and personal happiness and well-being, and no longer continues to push herself. She can really listen to her body, and that's the key here, is really listening to our body and being self-aware. Number three, obviously another big block for the nervous system or resilience in the nervous system, is overloading the nervous system. So overloading the nervous system can be definitely due to unprocessed past trauma or life events. As I mentioned, that cup just keeps getting fuller. And often we can have, where it feels like the next tsunami and the next tsunami and the next tsunami of a wave of things is happening, and we haven't had time to process. We haven't had time to recenter ourselves. And so those things keep stacking within our nervous system. And this keeps the body in a hypervigilant state, making it hard to relax and to rest. And constantly feeling unsafe in our nervous system is, also overloading the nervous system. So survival stress stored in the body, which is, when we have a racing mind or not getting deep quality sleep, having that constant fear and anxiety, which often leads to further overload through coping mechanisms, such as trying to numb out through being busy in avoiding our emotions or avoiding how we feel, or other coping mechanisms such as alcohol, caffeine, stimulants, sugar, emotional eating, processed foods, or scrolling on screens, can often be a way of attempting to self-soothe or attempting to try and get more energy in. And however, those things obviously continue to overload the nervous system as well. Having old beliefs and fears unconsciously running you in your life, no matter how much you achieve, it is a mindset issue. You cannot outrun these things. If you've ever been successful or achieved a goal only to set, the next goal and the next goal without fully celebrating that, or, it's just like, oh, but it's still not enough. I've still just got to do more. I've got to earn more. I've got to be more. I've got to be better. And again, I'm very growth orientated, but when it's driven by fear that we're not enough, it becomes very unhealthy, and it's a hamster wheel that is unsustainable long term and can often keep us on that treadmill of living in that flight response from a nervous system perspective. So there needs to be a shift in mindset, and safety is missing when that's actually occurring. So until these beliefs and past trauma is healed, it keeps activating our nervous system and adrenal systems to be in a state of hypervigilance and to continually push ourselves. So leading to further and further depletion of the physical body and emotional and mental exhaustion as well. So this in turn further activates the hypervigilant state of the mind, feeling uneasy and a sense of absolute dread, anxiety, and fear, leading to further downward spirals, both mentally, emotionally, and physically. Often we can have also overloads of toxins that can overload the nervous system, or as I mentioned before, the emotional overload as well. There can be multiple layers and ways that our nervous system is impacted and overloaded. But one of the biggest things is stored and unprocessed trauma from the past, or those belief systems that keep the nervous system in a constant state of feeling unsafe. So when past trauma is healed, you will naturally feel that you can relax in your body again, no longer be on edge or feel nervous or anxious, especially in relationships. So when I first met Sarah, she was feeling really flat, exhausted and tired, and she was feeling so overwhelmed with her client load each day. She felt that she didn't have the energy to make the changes that she truly wanted and needed to in her life. And Sarah was a psychologist running her own business. Sarah was unable to speak up at times in a relationship or say what she really wanted to express. And when she did it, she often ended up in a fight. She noticed that she was becoming more reactive and less patient with her young daughter, and that was something that absolutely broke her heart. She realized it had been so long since she'd felt like she just even had a really good laugh. And she didn't realize just how personally responsible she'd felt for everyone's well-being and how much that was actually impacting her. She was constantly hypervigilant and had taken on that fixer rescuer and harmonizer role in her family, healing her past experiences and deeply understanding how her childhood had impacted her nervous system and belief systems helped to absolutely set her free. So learning exactly how to regulate her emotional state when she was triggered and to truly question and release the old outdated beliefs that were no longer serving her gave her immense inner power and vitality in her life again. Not to mention, obviously, it helped her feel really proud of the way that she was now able to show up, especially for her daughter as well. So, what we need to thrive in order to start to heal these big blocks that can definitely affect our resilience that we have in perimenopause. So, this is our step-by-step proven strategy, the Thrive method, to really restore your true energy, emotional balance, and resilience in perimenopause. Number one, we have to create safety. This is safety with ourselves and our relationship with ourselves, as well as environmental safety. Nervous system regulation, really understanding not only how to regulate your nervous system, but healing the nervous system at a deeper level. And those two things are very different. Most people confuse them to be the same thing. It is different. Healing the four pillars, so physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. This is what we need. All of those four pillars are very interlinked. If you think about what you're eating or how you're moving your body and how that affects your emotional or your mental state, or even your connection with yourself, or that larger part of yourself. All of those pieces are such critical pieces. Emotional mastery, so that we feel more in charge and in control of ourselves. Often don't like to use the word control because control often comes from a state of fear, but really regaining greater alignment, as I've got below as well. So obviously increasing our energy to be able to thrive in life, have the energy that we need to put towards our goals, having that alignment, knowing how to bring yourself into alignment to create more of what you want, rather than feeling so fearful and so anxious that we're trying to control everything around us, which leads to, obviously, when we're in greater alignment, growth and expansion. With greater capacity on board, now we've got greater energy to be able to put towards our goals and our dreams, and we've got greater capacity to really grow and expand beyond our comfort zone. Very uncomfortable. If you do not have any capacity, there can be so much fear and anxiety if we're trying to push past our comfort zone. And I absolutely would not recommend doing that on any level when you don't have capacity, which is why understanding these pieces is so incredibly important in terms of timing, and listening to our intuition with that as well. Also, obviously, living our purpose and passion in life. This leads to greater fulfillment, greater energy during the day. And I know it's cliche to say, but it's so true. If we love what we do, we'll never work a day in our life. And I think, really, we have so many gifts as women to be able to share with the world. When we know that we're living on purpose in alignment with our values, that is when true, authentic happiness comes in, and we're being our most authentic self and sharing our gifts with the world. And I think really that is where we have our greatest chance to be able to heal our future generations of humanity, the more that we're stepping into sharing those gifts. So by applying the Thrive method, obviously you're going to automatically be no longer carrying the emotional responsibility for others, because you know that that's actually disempowering them and preventing their own healing and growth. Obviously, through the belief system work, working on the mental and the physical healings, all of those things can happen there. Letting go of constantly striving and pushing, even when you know you're exhausted, because you know that you're enough. You've healed those beliefs. You allow yourself to be supported and helped by others. There is such a life-changing experience when we really do allow ourselves to be supported at deeper and greater levels. And you'll have the exact system, tools, and strategies to prevent overloading the nervous system physically, mentally, and emotionally. So now you know, obviously, at a high level view, what to do. Let me show you how you can do it faster and easier, obviously, with support. So let me introduce Thrive Mastery. So this is a 12-month perimenopause resilience transformation course for high functioning, sensitive, emotionally aware women who are ready to reclaim their energy, clarity, and identity. So the Thrive Mastery program is a 12-week. We start with the core foundations for your transformation. So there's 12 lots of weekly 60-minute live group coaching support sessions. There's emotional mastery, there's nervous system regulation trainings, there's identity rebuilding, energy and hormonal resilience fundamentals that help you to understand these pieces. We're looking at all of the key areas that I spoke about, healing the body physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, getting you back in connection with yourself. You also will get the boundaries and really be able to develop self-trust and capacity expansion, and understand that often, we think we need to set healthier boundaries with others. Often it comes back to actually setting healthier boundaries and knowing our limits and capacity first. Then we can set healthier boundaries with others as well. You'll also get 4 lots of 30-minute one-to-one deep dive personal coaching with me, lifetime access to the Thrive modules. So, and that includes all updates that I do, a 60-minute initial consultation with a highly valued naturopath that I personally know, and she's absolutely brilliant at what she does, to reduce your inflammation, increase your energy, and to really understand what is going to support you longer term as you navigate perimenopause and menopause, and a 60-minute follow-up naturopathic consult. Obviously, the supplements aren't included. However, those consults definitely are included in that. Unlimited email support, human design profiling, understanding yourself and your energy profile, and how your energy interfaces, or how you can be impacted by other people's energy. It's often a huge one where women have huge breakthroughs in that particular area. Obviously, the Thrive online private community and support, where you'll meet other like-minded women going through a similar journey to yourself. Often this is a beautiful way of creating greater network and supports for ourselves. And obviously, emotional guidance scale, knowing how to master your emotions for life, the secret language of your body book, which is the ultimate guide to metaphysical causes of illness, feminine, masculine energy traits guide to rebalance your energy, and the EFT tapping guide. So knowing how to release unwanted emotions and physical sensations fast. You'll learn all the tools, strategies, and skills that I use on a daily and regular basis, and that I've experimented with, and also helped thousands of other women previously to be able to really support them to shift and change their lives in a powerful way. With our Thrive Mastery, because it is a 12-month program, you've got your 12 weeks of the core foundations, and then we move into 9 months of integration and deepening. So this is fortnightly group coaching calls then, which is an 18 additional calls, monthly 90-minute transformational workshops where we deep dive on all sorts of different topics that is absolutely relevant to you, looking at, wealth and obviously our health and well-being, and continuing in that sphere, as well as our relationships, as well as purpose, passion, all of those different things. So really powerful workshops there. High performance lifestyle design and planning. Planning is a huge one that keeps most people stuck. When you nail that, you nail how to utilize your time in much more productive ways and spend more time on the things that you love. Energetics and manifestation, recalibration, understanding how to manifest and create a life you love is absolutely key to living your purpose and passion. Obviously, expanding your vision, knowing what's possible when we've felt so compromised for so long, or felt that life has been about everybody else. Often getting really clear on who you are, what's important to you, what you want for your life is one of the most important pieces, as well as the identity evolution integration, who we are and what we believe we're capable of deeply impacts what we will take actions on and what we will actually do in our life as well. We will never outperform or, our identity, whoever we believe that we are. So really understanding those pieces is often key. Relationship dynamics and communication, understanding these pieces is so critical for great relationships with our children, loved ones, and or intimate partner, as well as money mentoring, wealth principles, really understanding how to dial those things in and really support yourself financially, as well as with any form of resources, be it our time, our money, our energy, the gifts that we have to share in the world, and of course building a strong support network within that time frame as well. So obviously that's valued at $4,500, and then we also have included in all of those pieces is the perimenopause resilience method. So this is obviously evidence-based, as well as an energetic hybrid model. So this is where we bring those two worlds together, as I said at the start, the logical, the strategical, as well as the energetics, the quantum physics, the understanding how to bring yourself into alignment, and how all of those things really actually can be explained on a very logical basis, but you will feel it at a deep level, first and foremost, and then see the external shifts in your life as well. So obviously that includes the emotional regulation tools, somatic practices, how to really come into deep connection with yourself, some breath work things with that somatic practice, cycle and hormone support rhythms, as well as energetic frequency upgrades, how to really dial in, get connected with your higher self, get that intuitive nudges, and be in the frequency where you can receive that information from your higher self as well. And obviously that's valued at 2,000. So all of that together obviously has a huge value, where we've got obviously the 12-week Thrive Core Foundations Transformation at 4,995, the 9 months of integration, support and expansion at 4,500, Perimenopause Resilience Method at 2,000. You'll also get a bonus emotional capacity toolkit valued at 297, perimenopause nutrition foundations guide at 197. You'll get the healthy boundaries happy life online course for 97, know your worth online course, which really helps shift that inner critic and shame and all of those pieces, valued at 27, and the identity revolution journal prompts at 97. So obviously that all equates to 12,210. You will only pay a fraction of that amount to get your free resilience mapping session. Just go to, you can either scan the QR code, or if you go to that particular link now on links.ivory.io widget / bookings resilience hyphen mapping hyphen session, or scan that QR code. I think that's probably the easiest way. This will be by application only in who I'm inviting into the Thrive Master. It'll be a 12-month program. Alignment for both myself in who I'm working with, as well as obviously it needs to be super aligned for you personally as well. That is the only situation that I work in when it feels like it's perfect alignment for both of us. So it is by application only. So only 5 spots available for January to get started. And by booking your call for your free resilience mapping session, you'll also get free access to Healthy Boundaries and Happy Life course. This kickstarts you on your healthy boundaries and setting those healthy boundaries, particularly in the lead up. If you're coming into Christmas and things like that, obviously, having those healthy boundaries, but it's imperative at any time of the year, particularly obviously, with our birth family, it can be most difficult to put those boundaries in place often. I've certainly found that with many of the women that I've spoken to. So really having the tools, the strategies, the know-how, and shifting the belief systems that often keep us stuck and not setting boundaries is absolutely key to freeing up some more of our time and our energy in our space for ourselves as well. So just by booking that call, you'll also get that. Also, if you're feeling I've tried everything and nothing has worked for me, remember, obviously my case study, Kerry, that was taking 4 days off work at a time. She had a major breakdown in 2016, and she found that by working together, she had far more energy than she's ever had before. Her mood has lifted. She can deal with the hard things. She's got the tools and strategies to do those things. She's off all medication, and in just 8 weeks, her fibromyalgia symptoms reduced by 80%, and she'd reduced so much inflammation in her body that she also lost 12 kilos of unwanted weight that she'd obviously been struggling for years to lose as well. So she can honestly say, I've never felt so healthy and well. My time with you has changed my life. So obviously significant when Kerry had thought she tried absolutely everything and nothing had worked for her. Already feeling super overwhelmed and feeling like, oh my God, I cannot add anything more to my plate. Mel definitely felt this way when she came to me. She was feeling really stuck. She'd known me obviously for years and naturally reached out when she was feeling stuck and physically and emotionally exhausted. She'd suddenly realized that she'd been in burnout for so long. So many women say this, and perimenopause and burnout have very similar symptoms simply because of that pregnenolone steel, where the body's prioritizing survival over reproduction, as I mentioned. So that was something Mel believed, was only something that happened to other people, not herself. So I provided a safe space in the Thrive program to be open, honest, and most importantly, showing me that my thoughts and challenges are not unique. Doing the work and committing time can be hard and confronting because Mel, as I mentioned, Mel was already busy. She already felt very overwhelmed. But seeing that change in herself and the rest of the beautiful ladies, which she'd learned so much from, was inspiring and motivating to want more change and obviously more in life. She continues to do the work now on her own. She's got the tools, the strategies, but with much more confidence and trust that I've got this. So loving seeing the changes and the ease and flow that this brings into my everything. So that was Mel. When she felt she was already overwhelmed, she felt like she couldn't possibly add one more thing to her plate, but really found that she got more time, more energy to be able to deal with things and to be able to take things off her plate after going through the Thrive program. And if you're feeling, I don't have time, there's too much going on. That was certainly Rose's situation. She was just going, super busy, not sleeping, because she was so busy. She was working super long hours. She thought she was in a great place, but she realized afterwards that she actually wasn't. She didn't know why, and she couldn't figure out what was going on. She felt depressed, lazy, tired, and sore. She had joint pain and migraines. And in her words, I was just a mess and I was burned out, but didn't know it. I was going to doctor after doctor trying to figure out what was wrong. They were telling her to take this pill, take that pill. She's off 4 medications. She's got 0 pain now. And unless she finds herself under stress, then, that is that little signal or the little feather that she gets to figure out what's going on now. And she knows exactly how to change it and get herself back out of pain as well. In Rose's words, I found my own personal strength and calmness. I accept myself, which I really never did before. I was always thinking I wasn't good enough. I accept help from others now too, which is something I never did before, and that has also given me even more time back. So you can see that, she's got more of a time back by learning these strategies and also by allowing herself to be helped and supported as well. So obviously we spoke about today the 3 blocks that are stealing your resilience. So carrying the emotional responsibility for others, feeling you can't let others down or disappoint them, constantly striving and pushing even when you're exhausted or being hyper independent, not allowing yourself to get help and be supported. And number 3, obviously overloading the nervous system physically, mentally, emotionally, and feeling disconnected with our truest, most authentic self. So what we need to do to thrive again, just to recap on that step-by-step proven strategy, the Thrive method, really coming back into safety with ourselves, most importantly, and in our environment, and safety with others. Nervous system regulation, which is different. There's nervous system healing and regulation, which will include both within that Thrive method. Healing, the 4 pillars. So physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, letting go of toxins, things that are causing inflammation, brain fog, all of those things, really understanding emotional mastery, how we create emotions, and why emotions are there, and how to actually really understand how to shift those on a deeper, longer term, as well as accept them, as well as feel them, as well as process them. Having increased energy, obviously coming back into alignment, not trying to control everything, but understanding how you create your reality, both through your thoughts, your intention, and your energetic vibration. Growth and expansion so you can continue growing and flourishing. Midlife is, such an opportunity for us to recreate ourselves or reinvent ourselves or just become more of who we naturally are in our most authentic self, letting go of the layers and layers of conditioning to really expand and flourish in a way that lights our heart up. And of course, the more we do that, the more we give other women around us permission to do that. Not that they need permission, but we inspire them from that particular place. And we're also teaching the future generations of our younger children, particularly our girls, in what, all of those different things in healing generational trauma as well, and coming back to our purpose and passion, sharing our gifts, and really being of service in the world in a sustainable. Really want to emphasize that in a sustainable and maintainable way that lifts you up, that makes you feel great, have you living in integrity with your values, your purpose, and feeling wonderful within yourself, really getting back to thriving, not just surviving. And you can obviously get started. Book your free resilience mapping session today. It's not a sales call. It is literally jumping on, understanding exactly where you're at in your nervous system currently, getting clarity on what's been affecting your resilience the most, and creating a step-by-step plan on how to create greater resilience and get back to thriving. It's completely complimentary. Book today to get your head start into making 2026 a great year ahead. And obviously you can make that booking by scanning that QR code or by jumping onto that link that I've posted below as well. So lots of love to you all. Really excited for you to get your fast action bonus of the Healthy Boundaries Happy Life course access. I think that would be brilliant for so many of you. And you get access to that 60 days just literally for booking a free call, complimentary call to help us together on that call. As we mentioned, we're going to figure out where you're currently at, what's getting in your way, and what is that step-by-step personal plan for you to be able to move forward and be able to create a life that you love, get back to thriving. You're closer than you think, and you absolutely do not have to navigate this alone. Thanks so much for your time. It's been wonderful having you here. Can't wait to speak with you very soon. Bye for now.